Oh, okay.
Check. Yes, all right.
We're good?
It went up one, so let's hope. Don't die. All right, I think
That's a long way to fall.
we're doing well.
All
You're not
right.
allowed to miss from now on, you realize.
So we will resume our meeting that began at 6 PM with executive session, coming out of our brief recess. Are there any, item number 4 on the agenda, are there any changes to the agenda that anyone has? Okay. Item number 5 is approval of our minutes from the May 13th meeting, which are in the Dropbox.
I move that we pass the May 13th meeting
Pay us.
minutes.
We have a motion
Pass.
to accept
Pass,
the
please,
May
pay us.
13th
Okay.
meeting minutes. Do we have a second? Second. Any discussion?
Just that I wasn't there.
Okay. Then all in favor of adopting or accepting the May 13th meeting minutes, please say aye.
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 Fine.
Opposed and 1 abstention. Item number 6, we have an update from MRB Group on the ongoing stormwater study, as well as I think some update information.
So probably a couple months ago, we came and presented findings of the stormwater report, as well as some updates on the I-9. With the stormwater findings, there were 3 identified areas that we had mentioned, as well as just some general items in nature that were found in our walking of the village during both wet weather and dry weather events. 3 identified areas were East Seneca Road, Pennsylvania Avenue, and Larchmont Drive. East Seneca Road at that point was 62 Seneca Road, where there was a large, what appeared to be, East Seneca Road goes west to east with topography going east towards the lake. Many large pipes coming into swales with ultimately a 8-10-inch pipe at the outlet, so it could look like a pinch point. Obviously, no hydraulic analysis was done on that, but was an area that was identified. Following that meeting, a resident actually was further up west along the side road that provided some additional, looked like a power point was provided to the village board that identified some other areas. So we're now well aware of that and will reflect the piping improvements on to the map.
I'd just like to make a comment that we do have Grain Brain coming in on Tuesday, and they are to start on the East Seneca Road, doing some televising.
And that would be for the sanitary sewer.
That's for the sanitary sewer.
The other area was Pennsylvania Ave, just some identified areas in the field. One of the neighbors was out on the property and let us know that they had some issues with their property. So we identified that. And third was Larchmont Drive, where some contributing areas discharged to through a back lot to what was a natural pond. So it was indicated that cattail or some water impediment has been encroaching on that property. So we made mention of that. Other items that were found in the stormwater report, Hughes Street discharges to a steep bank. So we wanted to just make the village aware that there has been very busy little start of some bank erosion. So something that could be noted and continue to keep an eye out. And also Halsey Street near Pennsylvania Ave, there was some pictures sent to us that had some front yard timing, looked like to be on private property. If there's any questions on that so far?
Anything from Matt?
So this is just a general kind of, we're getting a lay of the land, understanding what's out there kind of situation.
Correct. Yeah. So that was originally requested of MRB is where's their stormwater going? what infrastructure do we have? Let's go out, walk the village, map it, get us what we'll call a base drawing, and then continue to evolve this map over years as we are looking to further study an area to be able to put a pipe that under there, put some hydraulic information of that pipe onto a map, and have something that we can now work on moving forward. Other question you have was potential next steps moving forward with the stormwater. Use 35 Lake Street as an example, similar situation brought to our attention of some hydraulic issues with culvert and a head wall. Came out, MRV was hired to evaluate that hydraulically. We looked at the contributing area, so get the lay of the land, get the topography, and put a number to what the flow is coming out that end of the pipe. That allows us to size that pipe, that infrastructure, to be able to handle not only normal everyday rain event, but your 100-year rain event, for example, will we size that. So, other items that we could do in steps moving forward is look at survey and GPS if we're not going to making design improvements. With that, we can also make recommendations for some of these areas for improvements, as well as I mentioned, continuing to update the map, looking at annual plans for continuing to make some stormwater improvements.
Also coming out of that, I believe that you had a number of areas that you identified where they should keep the swales clean.
Correct.
And they have already started working on digging those out
Awesome.
and making them more efficient.
Very good.
Good.
There's more questions on stormwater?
I think so.
Then we can go into all this. It sounds like that you just updated that Tuesday Drain Brain will be coming up to do the televising.
That's the beginning of the televising. I think Friday they came and did a rough estimate, started to put together an estimate. Tuesday, I believe they're gonna start actually doing some televising.
Okay, and again, there were 4 areas that were identified. That was, we came out, we did flow booking, we actually physically measured dry weather events, dry weather and wet weather, and correlated that difference. So we saw 10 gallons per minute during dry weather and 110 gallons per minute during wet weather. We know that there's 100 gallons per minute flow gain contributed from precipitation, groundwater coming up, or gutter downspouts connected directly to the sanitary sewer. So those areas identified are move forward with were the Alvels area, West Main Street, back lot on East Main Street that came out along Lake Street, and East Seneca Road, Strobridge back lots, which it sounds like that's where Drain Brain started. And to give you an idea of dry weather, wet weather, delta there, difference, saw 110 gallons per minute. So,
Where was that last location?
East Seneca Road, Strobridge, back lots. And a fun correlation is, obviously nothing we know yet, but where that resident provided us the PowerPoint presentation actually showed a pond in the backyards. So it might be a good indicator that it has some contribution of some stormwater making into the sanitary sewer. So something like that is helpful for us that we can't see normal day-to-day information.
Good.
Steps moving forward, mentioned to Dusty, the DPW. If you want MRB, you can assist with watching the video. The experts that look at this, look for deficiencies in the pipes. So it's something that, if that's, to those who like us to assist with that, we'd be glad. So.
Okay. Any questions for me?
Did Dusty say anything about having you assist in reviewing them?
I thought that would be a good idea.
didn't discuss that with him.
So once the video work is done, then
We can sit down and review the tapes.
good, well, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Anything that we can do, keep us posted and I'll be able to come on down and do the next board meeting if you'd like.
Good.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you. Okay.
I don't know, I don't do the agenda. I don't know.
All right, item number 7 is privilege of the floor. Public comment period.
On behalf of Garden Club, I attend Garden Club, and I'd like to thank the DPW for the fair of all the wrong sons. All 3 which came down in the last 2 years. And I'd also like to thank the board for freeing up the DPW and providing supplies for the community building sidewalks on one side of the street. East side of the first block of South Street. And looking forward to that project. In the last 2 years, I've attended over 80 village board meetings, not just the trustees, but planning board, and focus groups. And I learned a great deal about local government during this time. I really appreciate the time and effort that all these board members have given. However, there's been dismayed by the letter that was sent to village residents from the trustees prior to receiving tax bills. It's quite a topic of discussion in the village. My take on the matter is that the development was the only answer to keeping taxes low in the village. So we're talking about any kind of development or development that maintains the character of the village, or is it just this way, is this just a way that we declare and support for the South Street project in failed terms? If there's a lot of discussion in the village because of that, what are the confusion as to what purpose it was. Last summer, I attended a walking tour of the village presented by Mr. Ithaca. And during that time, it was stated that Mr. Keys and Mr. Gray, who were owners of foundries in Fromensburg in the mid-1800s, built 60 Italian houses in Fromensburg to sell to their employees. The cost was $2,000, and most workers could pay for the house in 5 years' time. That's pretty amazing to me. Many of those went down, and aren't 60 left in the village anymore. But, so that was affordable housing in the 1800s. So I realized that that was then, and this is now. However, I would think there were a lot of important issues that need to be considered than development in the village, and I really believe it's related to corporate welfare, basically. I believe that all citizens should have access to public education, job training, healthcare, and the living village. In this climate of corporate welfare, we've created situations where employees are not paid a living wage and are not provided healthcare, and as a result, these social programs that make up for the lack of responsible employers providing benefits on a living wage, such as Medicaid, food stamps, welfare, affordable housing, are prime examples. It then becomes the responsibility of the middle class groups to fund these programs while the corporate giants of the world make obscene amounts of money without paying their share of taxes. I would like the board to consider their stand on these issues as well as development in Texas. And finally, Ralph Nader quote, "A society that has more justice is a society that has less achievement." Gotta think about that.
Could you say that?
Society that is more just has less achievement. And I think that's where we are. We don't have a just society, and consequently, we're having to provide all of these benefits to people that are not being treated justly in society. I think we've concentrated on that.
Well, thank you. only comment I'll make is that, the primary intention of the letter was not to cast support for any one thing, but rather to start a conversation, which I'm glad is now being had. It's having the desired effect. The intended effect was to get people talking and thinking about what really the future of the village is going to be. As the saying goes, if all you have is a hammer, then you tend to treat everything as a nail. For folks who are primarily concerned, primarily engaged, or only engaged for the first time in their life here in the village, for those folks who are only now engaged because of 46 South Street, they will of course see 46 South Street in that letter. There are, however, other ways that the village can grow and expand. Housing is not the only way. So it's not so much a pitch for anything in the letter other than to get people to think. One of the things that I realized when penning the letter was that the history of the village, starting with Abner Treeman himself, has been one of growth and change, sometimes based on natural disaster, more than one occasion. But there was always growth and change of some type until about the mid-1970s. And I found it very interesting that from about the water and sewer plants that currently exist, that infrastructure was put in the late 60s, the last piece of it. So from really I'll say the mid-70s to about 2001, 2002, there really wasn't a whole lot of change in the village. It took 30 years for Larchmont and Tamarack to build out. So we really didn't see anything major happen. And then since 2004, we had the dollar store and the two buildings next to what is now Atlas were put in. We have the affordable housing development behind Salo Drive. So we've started to see an acceleration of things that feel like a lot of change. But the irony is that for those of us who either grew up or came of age or moved here from 1975 to about 2000, we all came to think of that lull in what was the normal course of change in the village. We came to think of that lull as normal. And as I've often said, most human beings, it's not a criticism, it's the way we're built. Most human beings think that history begins the day we start paying attention. So for most of us, we think of that quiet period as the norm. The reality is the 150 years prior to that was the norm. There was this anomaly, a generational anomaly where not much changed in the village. And now we've reverted back, in my opinion, over the last 15 years. We've reverted back to what is normal. People buy things, people sell things, people build things. And so that shift back is what has made people uncomfortable. And so part of my thinking in getting people to just stop and think about what the village looks like now, what is it going to look like in the future, is to drive that piece of the conversation. So for the 6 people who will watch this video, and for you, Janice, that's really the intent behind the letter. Is every year we hear a handful of people. We don't get the attendance at our budget meetings that we would like, but we hear a handful of people, and rightly so, concerned about escalating property taxes over time. Every year I remind people that the school is 64% of that. And I know that there's a discussion going on at 100 WIG tonight about the school budget. But that conversation is never going to end. Things are never going to get cheaper. Services are never going to be less expensive to provide. So that is the point of the letter. For those of us who don't remember what the village of Trumansburg was like in the late 19th and early 20th century, we have to begin to think about what those changes might really need to be going forward. So that was really interesting.
I think Rockbridge is essentially divided. I've seen a lot of change in the village since 1985. There were abandoned, burned out houses. really bad conditions, and I think they would work with it.
Sure.
Maybe find a lot of people think people have just fix them up.
Right.
That's a long time later, to the community, let's see if it's real upstream.
Sure, no, I think that folks investing in what was already there can be considered change. But not the kind of change where you have, you think about what was at the time known as Lawn Street, we now call Camp Street. It was fully wooded and there was nothing there until a wealthy man decided to build a really obnoxiously large house that we all now love. Rows of Main Street burned down and rebuilt. A hotel at the bottom of Old Main taken down.
Well, I don't know if the bank was condemned.
Yeah.
That was kind of, buildings.
Old Main physically being moved
Yes.
50 feet to the left. I mean, that kind of, not violent, but we can almost use that terminology, that kind of drastic change. There has not been a lot of that in the latter quarter of the 20th century.
It was really an interesting presentation by Ed Brown, the Historical Society, and this stuff. And he went through the history of the building and all this.
Yeah.
And he said the numbers also did a lot to add to the conversations, were quite interesting, and very, very well attended.
Good.
So, because I do think people do have pride in the village, and they live in. And I don't think anybody has been assigned to, if you want to run the conversation, so you can choose to do that.
Sure.
But I don't think also for the state, it's very common now, it's the American signature. So that's once they board, but the Americans look a lot better in these days with the way that people come and programs.
Sure.
And certainly are cheaper in taxes, are not as bad as the Americans. But I think we need to keep that in mind too. How do we, not criticize any of my neighbors, but they're all double income professionals. And I think that's good for the community, but it also sets a standard of, raise the standard of what people are willing to pay and build.
So I just quickly want to add, not to belabor this point at all, I think Gordon summed it up very nicely, but for me, it's just a math question. Every year I've been on the board, I've said, all right, this year we're gonna get the budget set, so that next year we don't upgrade. And that's all it comes down to. I mean, it's, you can read whatever you want into it, but ultimately that's the problem, and then the solution is whatever you think. But it's a conversation that
No, I understand.
just doesn't get had in shit.
Well, I think it happens in your own personal budget. Every year too. How much, whether
Right, but the broader policy implications tend to just get swept under the rug, because every year we do some sort of budget gymnastics to try and do it.
I think everybody does that. Yeah. Certainly not.
Not, well, no, I mean, the village itself does, so. It's not-
Well, I was also want to comment that there's a lot of conversation and probably about the weather. That's the first time I've ever received a letter from the board of trustees and all members, I think, too. And just like any event, every person has their own personal take on it. And I'm not really telling what I just thought it was heavily on, we have to have development and we'll keep the tax down. That's what I got out. And I think we have a lot of societal issues that we address in these tax keeping the taxes down.
Yeah, and to that last point, I don't necessarily doesn't have a lot of policy-making ability when it comes to any local municipal government has only a couple of levers at its disposal to make things more expensive or less expensive. And even within that, there isn't a whole lot that can be done sometimes. As I mentioned in the letter, we can't, even if everybody in the village said, yes, let's, they just close Milliken and let's build a power plant.
Yeah, exactly.
Crazy example. If everybody wanted to do that, then make sure Kate knows that's great. There isn't a municipal government doesn't have a way to say, you build or come build. We have a way to say, don't build,
Yes.
but we don't have a way to say, to proactively make someone build. So I'm glad people are having the conversation. That was the primary intent.
I'd also just like to add, personally that I think something this board has tried to do, and whether it's well received or not, is always going to be, I think, up to the individual. But we've tried to have as you see these microphones in front of us and this new switchboard, we've tried to have very public conversations about the most important issues. And it's, in the history of politics, I don't know if there's a more popular issue than taxes. And so the fact that you identify, which I assume was probably the case, that no one's ever received a letter commenting on the upcoming tax rate, that alone, to me, was a unique thing. Another unique thing that we're trying to do, to have a conversation about the decisions this board is making, which typically just exists in the vacuum of this room that very few people outside of yourself, thank you again for that, really come into. So the reality of what the letter addressed, some people will agree with or not like or read into, and that's, I think, the case with really any political issue.
Okay.
But we put ourselves out there. Yeah.
It's public schools,
Yeah.
45 years, I certainly know. You could say one thing and
Sure, and I think,
45.
anytime you do that, you're gonna upset some people, but we're trying to have as public a dialogue as we can. We could have just buried it on the website, but, it also appeared in some local periodicals, so, taxes are an issue for everyone. And I think the fact that we're trying to have an open discussion about taxes and what do we cut? Do we encourage or be open to development? I saw the letter as, here are our options. Nobody likes to cut things by nature, I think, and so maybe that's why it felt like it was, we gotta build, because no one wants to lay people off. And to your point about income issues, I think this village, as part of that budget, does a very good
No, I
job.
think we should put a look, didn't mean that to be.
No, I know, but we are very conscious of, are we paying our employees well? Are we taking care of them? We just had union negotiations and we pay state healthcare and things like that. So we, paying insurance for our fire department, things like that that are new.
But I think that's what it should be.
Yeah.
And I don't mind the taxes going to that kind of stuff at all. If we had more just society, and everybody contributed to the general welfare of everyone, I think we'd be a better society. That's what we're looking at, rather than putting out all these different. If you came here and said you never, you're going to cut employees, salaries and take away their health benefits, I have no problem. It's not right. So I know it's very difficult decisions. And the cost of living goes up every year, so we have to, not fix it.
So one of the things that I like to comment on is I appreciate the letter because I want the awareness of everyone to be there. I think often the conversations that I find very frustrating are the conversations that say the government should. And each person thinks that the government should do X and Y and Z because that's important to them, but they're not willing to put their checkbook on the table and pay for it. And not everybody wants to pay for everything. And if we start having this conversation now, every time we need to evaluate something that the government should, or that is brought forward, maybe they will think to participate in that conversation again.
I think you should.
Good.
That's all I got.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda are representatives, of which we have none present at the moment.
I think they're all busy.
Right on to you.
Good.
Nancy's
We got that.
not next.
Sure, thank you.
All right, so the government's here to talk about fire and all this, the Lake Street sign. What I want to complain about is the new one that the town put in at the end of Cayuga.
That's a broad
It
stuff.
needs to have big flashing, not flashing, but those big flags on it. Because twice this week, somebody flew right through there, and I could have had an accident. I was like, you did not see me, it's not so, and we have the answer to no, because we're little rats and pigs, and we continue our, our paths as we,
Which,
when we come down the front neck.
oh, can you get the front, okay, got
They put
it.
a stop sign there, but people are not stopping. So I think maybe you can leave and put up, well, it's not yours, it's on town.
We got those, like the flags on Lake Street, right? Like the flags on Lake Street, just to make it.
Yeah, right, exactly. Put those there, so you'll see that.
Yeah, I don't find that as disturbing as the trees coming from Frontenac to Cuba Street, where the stop line is right in the middle of, the stop sign's in the middle of the trees, as well as from Seneca Road down King towards Cuba. Same thing, the stop sign is in the trees. So I'm gonna be actually working with Dusty to see if we can clear that up a bit.
No, it needs to be visible.
Mhm.
Even when they put the, the stop signs when we had the accident on the corner, that's on Street, Wood Street. It's fluorescent, it had flags, it had rockways, it had, all these things. And I can't imagine if we go to a four-way stop. Tell me, we put a four-way stop in Oakland, in Main Street, I about flipped out. I was sitting there and thinking, why is that person stopping in the middle of
That's the timing of the tree and they it's been a flashing light, it's been a bright green light.
Okay.
It's been stopped.
got me?
It'll be gone, it'll be gone in a year.
Okay. Well, I don't think these stop signs would be gone, but I wish they would be better labeled, so you assume people are gonna stop. Like an incident, you assume they're gonna stop.
Yeah, don't ever assume that.
That's never assumed.
Good night, Janice.
Thanks, Janice.
All right, board reports, fire, CPZR, farmers market.
Sure. So on the fire side, I noticed in the abstracts, the gear washer was purchased, so that's moving forward. I haven't heard it being installed yet. It might be already, but that's moving forward, which is good to hear. There was a fire on Main Street that the department had made short work of, which is fantastic because as Warden was mentioning, Main Street has had a tendency to burn down in the past. So good that we have a fire department that knows how to use its equipment. Apparently there was a fire truck for one of those main fires that they'd forgotten about. They'd purchased after one of the massive fires and then forgot that there was a fire truck. Had to remember halfway through and were able to save some of the buildings. But anyhow, I've been enjoying my Village of Trumansburg history. On the CPZR front, our next meeting is this Thursday at 6:30 in this room. We've been giving feedback on an initial draft of a new vision statement for the comprehensive plan and for a set of character areas, which is to take the village and kind of draw some loose circles around neighborhoods, as it were, throughout the village, and then try and kind of describe them so that I think to further a conversation around what aspects of which areas do we enjoy, which would we like to cultivate and see more of. So I think we'll see those play a larger role in the fall as we get towards more of the public meetings and more of the public involvement of the broader public. We'll probably quiet down a little bit over the summer. I think EDR will likely not join our meetings for the rest of the summer, and we'll meet back up with them in the fall and figure out how to schedule some of those public meetings, maybe October timeframe. So there'll be more information about that, obviously, as we get closer. The market, nothing really to report except that they've had fantastic weather so far, and the food options are fantastic. So everyone should make an effort to come back out. It's definitely improved since last year, so the work is definitely paying off.
The consistency of a food truck is huge.
Yeah, and the food truck is awesome.
For those people that want to feed a family.
Mac and cheese and chicken and
So the
sandwiches.
consistency is-
Chicken is great.
The sun has been very good, yes. So all in all, encourage everyone to make it out on Wednesday. That's it for me.
The USDA up one in.
Okay.
This year from USDA, they said that they would call with some questions. And once that's approved, the checking account open.
Okay.
So we're already.
This is to accept the EBT cards? Great.
And then doing, to get an agreement to Jordan for the double.
The double up bucks,
Yeah,
or
the
whatever it is.
double up bucks.
Yeah,
So.
great. Thank you for all your work. I know that they've been throwing a lot your way, but it's much appreciated, certainly.
No, no problem. It's going slow.
Yeah.
So, but next year we'll be all ready. for the-
Right, that'd be great. Yeah, I know there was that lapse last year, so it's been kind of stutter start to get going again.
Well, didn't have to, after all that USD is spent. Oh, no, we don't need, I didn't have to give any of my personal information, which happened like 30 days before, that they never really used.
Yeah.
It is
Oh, well.
what it is.
Yeah.
They'll
Great,
be there next year.
thank you.
Okay. EMS Youth and Street Tree Advisory Committee.
So I don't have much to report, although we did have the Duran Day celebration this week in the market, which was marvelous. And then, what else did I eat? Whatever it was. I did not know. But that was really great. It was, I think, wonderful as an experience, but also an honor to Rand. It felt to me at least like it was pretty meaningful for him, which made it even more meaningful for me and the rest of you.
It felt very well attended. Like it was a noticeably larger crowd than
And
a
uniquely
typical
for
market.
Rand.
Yes.
There was a lot of people that came sort of after.
Specifically.
The signs and stuff and said, is this when it start? Is this where it's going?
That's great.
So it was really, really great.
People that came in that had moved out of town came back in for it.
Yeah. So that was great. I also had planned a public meeting, which was actually two months ago, since I was the last meeting. But anyway, to discuss the tree ordinance, one person came to that meeting. So for anyone who's watching this video, it was very disappointing. I'm I think still recovering from it and sort of trying to evaluate how to approach public meetings. It's my understanding, based on all of my interactions and all of the public comments that I've heard, is that trees are a priority in the village. They're important for village character. They're important for stormwater. They relate to all of these different things that I feel like come up over and over again. So I don't know. I didn't do a pretty much job how that happened. In any case, we will be moving along, but I guess without as much public input as I hoped. But
Once
we'll
you
be more
start
about that.
charging for those, tree removals or tree whatever, you'll have plenty of
I'll
public.
have one angry person. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, not something that I understand. But it was the start. So that's all I've got. The rest is sort of revaluation.
Okay. DPW Water Sewer.
Okay, it is summer season, so of course they are doing all kinds of things like
Oh, like planting trees.
planting trees. They've been tree planting, they've been hanging banners. They are working on South Twig sidewalk. Something came up about telephone poles.
The doubling up. Dustin wants to get he went to road school
Yes,
last week where they're bringing in new utility poles. They're setting them alongside the old utility poles and they're not removing the old ones, which there's an increase in accidents and fatalities among highways with the additional poles.
it's not the fact that there's an additional pole, it's that they pull the pole and leave it on the side. That's
They
what
don't
my
pull the
understanding.
pole, it's still standing.
Oh, okay.
So it increases the width of the pole by 2 as opposed to.
Oh, okay. So they're just trying to catch up with the law, which says we need to get rid of that double pole. I already talked about drain, scoping, and that's about it. Met with the superintendent of schools, but I don't have any outcome from that. And that's all I have for DPW at this point. I should note that our permit can continue to exceed our sewer permit every month. So, because it's good.
And most rain days in May and
Yes.
Okay.
And you know, the fact that all the glaciers are melting, they say that this is to be expected going onward, so we'll have
What's
to,
melting?
the glaciers,
Oh, the work.
the Arctic, the world.
There's a local.
There's a local climate impact to that, because there's a lot more water to fall in the atmosphere. I think that's all I have.
Police, TCOG, and TACC.
First, police, 183 calls for service in the month of May. We also begun training of 2 new police cadets. No major crimes to be reported, those 183 calls. Also the lowest number received in several months. And we broke out the police bike debut. We escorted middle school students who were riding from the farmer's market to the school campus in celebration of a biking day, biking to work, day of biking, for the exact name was, but, so we provided an escort there because the kids are going to be riding in village streets during the morning commute, and so, Officer Ben Wright wanted to make sure everyone was safe, so we rode along with them, which was nice. Ben and Officer Sergeant Peters also spoke to kids in a classroom recently, and that was really well received. So continuing to find ways to get out there in the community, which is a big part of Chief Joe's desires and mine as well. We have some car repairs that we're going to talk about financing, referendums. We have some wiring basically has gone bad in our, no, we're not doing that now. No, that's wrong. That's a forthcoming issue later on in the summer, probably we can hold on for that. This is one of our police cars needs a new engine. And so we have people, we're going with a pre-used, pre-owned engine, keep costs down. And so we have a referendum for that, and we have a referendum for the cost of computer installation on the new car that we approved a couple months ago. Came out a little higher than expected. So we have to make a difference and improve that spending as well. So, Vicki, I'll turn that over to you.
Okay. Joe, the new engine, and I do believe when they do the new engine, they are gonna do some new free wiring with that. So I think that's all kind of part of this deal. But anyway, Joe got 3 quotes, which are in the Dropbox for you. The best price is in our voices, but when you compare all of them, Bell's Auto Care came out with the best warranty. And it's slightly more than NR Voices. NR Voices was going to give just a 90-day warranty, where Bell's is going to do 22,000 miles, 3 years, 36,000 on parts and labor. So for the difference, which is very low, Joe would like to go with Bell's. So there is a permissive referendum in the Dropbox too, asking for up to $3,600 taken from the police, the vehicle reserve to complete that. And he does understand that it's, you know, he has to wait 30 days and all the good stuff.
If you wanted to move each of those individually.
Okay, so I'll move that we pay up to $3,600 for engine replacement.
Second,
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
Use that was from the vehicle repair
That's from the police vehicle reserve,
reserve, sorry.
subject to permissive referendum. Any additional discussion?
Just quickly, do you know what the totals are in the town meeting?
There's $41,000 in there now. We're gonna take, 35,000 out to pay for the car. So we're good. And Joe didn't use, we did do a permissive referendum for 3,000 back in March, I think, that he, or maybe it's February, that we were going to pay the lease on the Tahoe that he thought would be here. So the Tahoe just came actually today. So we kind of saved that $3,000. So that's the thing.
So we have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion?
The only thing I would just add that I did discuss with Joe whether to get paid more for a new engine, but I have suggested that because this vehicle already seems like it's close to the end of its life, and we get a 3-year warranty, we should get to the vehicle replacement schedule. So paying $2,500 more for a better engine to really see more of so we are trying to be conscious of the cost. But the car needs an engine.
So we have a motion and a second then, subject to permissive referendum, we'll be allocating $3,600 from the police vehicle reserve for a previously owned engine from the 2013 Ford Explorer. If there's no additional discussion, then all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There's no abstention. All right, what's the next one?
And the second, do you want me to go ahead or do you want, I'm sorry.
No, you can go ahead.
Okay, so the second one is for a new computer, as Steve mentioned, for the 2019 Dodge Charger, thank you. It did come out a little more, so Joe would like to do a permissive referendum out of the vehicle small equipment line for up to, yes.
Keith, would you like to move that?
Would like to move permissive referendum for up to $4,600 from the small equipment reserve to cover the additional cost of the computer installation. and the lease charging.
Motion, we have a second? Any additional discussion? If not, then all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Moving on real quickly to TCOG, which I'll use that to just give a brief update on the LED lighting project. So at this point, Trumansburg, Cayuga Heights, Caroline, Village of Dryden, Village of Freeville have all signed on. Seems like it's a good time to do this, you come to Dryden, come to the Village of Newfield. Will make their decision before the end of this month. Either way, it looks like they'll be ready to move on to the next phase at the end of the month. All we have to ensure, and I sent him an email earlier, is that we have our, we need to have our purchase agreement with NICEAG ready to go, and our whole leasing agreement, which I don't know if we've asked, but I don't think we asked for that. Did we ask?
I looked right before I came down to the meeting and I
Yeah.
didn't see anything
I
about
don't think
that.
we looked at those before, so those are the two things, and I don't know if the previous quote we got is still valid, or we put it in a certain time range.
It's been over a year.
I want to see it was 18 months, though, so we might be okay. those are the two things we, on our end, will have to have ready to go for when night and.
So do you want me to call Tad about the police, or do you want?
Yeah, I guess maybe, I mean, I have it somewhere, I can look to
okay.
see the valid date. What Casey, from your Power Authority has been saying is don't expect nice egg or plain ice with all of this. So I don't necessarily want to call Tad and be like, hey, is our agreement still good? I'd like to see what we have in writing already.
Right.
Not that it just be rolled, but.
Just let me know if you need to do something.
But yeah, then we definitely need a light pole leasing agreement. So you can call about that. Or just, you can call about both and just say where we at.
Yeah, yeah, got it.
Because we have the documentation, I don't think it's gonna lie. So come the July board meeting, hopefully we have some interesting things to talk about that. Rory and Gary maybe a little bit more involved, so you can maybe add more detail, but there continues to be a shared service plan talked about around the county. It's kind of stuff that's been talked about for a long time, and not sure how much real traction there is right now. I know the county administrator is really involved in it. What do you want?
And it's part of the state's mandate for counties to produce an annual report to Albany of what services the county is sharing among municipalities. So they have several meetings still to come, as well as some public information sessions where folks can bring their ideas of what services can be shared. I know the city and the county are looking at locations for the sheriff's department and IPD as part of that. And so it's stay tuned to see what else might come to the fore.
Okay, moving on to Trumansburg Chamber related activity. Member reported that 80 members in the Trumansburg Area Chamber of Commerce. And Porch Fest is Saturday, 12 to 5. So I did not look at the forecast. It's going good. It's going to be good. We got a little rain out of the way. So Porch Fest, get ready, should be exciting. Regards to some of the Main Street stuff that has been mentioned before, I spoke with Eric at New York State DOT, and he kind of gave me the process and who to speak with about addressing some of these issues. Two main things I'm curious about are the aforementioned crosswalk over to Not My Dad's, which he said probably should be a difficult case to make. He said there's many villages that have done big blocked crosswalks. So he thinks that, he looked at the map, and he thinks that looks like a good case considering fair traffic goes that way, school kids go that way, and neighbors go that way. So everyone's trying to get over their soft serve. So we don't want that mishaps. And then slowing down traffic in the heart of our main street. Talked about some possible signage there. And again, the nice thing is for both these things, it's the same department, which is like their safety group. So he basically told me to put something in writing to, so assuming the Main Street side of things that is a little more complicated. We could just put signs up about, I don't know, children at play or something like that. His feedback on that was, it looks like our crosswalks already have the pedestrian signs on them, and the state is kind of looking to, there's a bigger push to decrease signage, because too much signage means people aren't paying attention to any of it. So there was a little bit of debate there whether more signage on our main street would help or hinder, or would the state really want to put more signage in a spot like that. And then there's the debate of pulling back a parking spot or two to open up more visibility to the crosswalk down in front of Gibby, which I think has been something we've talked about before, but something I think we popular. So I would like to, it doesn't have to be tonight, but if the board has any feedback on how much of that is worth pursuing. I don't see a harm in the crosswalk or the ice cream shop, but on the Main Street side, that seems a little bit more complicated and open for debate, so. I don't know if anyone has any thoughts on that now, or.
Thumbs up on a crosswalk tonight, my dad's, definitely.
I agree with that as well. I
Certainly
have
move on
a
that.
problem with removing another parking space in front of Jimmy. Mainly because that's where I park to go get my pizza, and I cross the street. Because there's never any place to park on the other side because we have that cutout there. So, I mean, that's just, it's a convenient spot to stop.
I don't know, maybe it's better to put something on further ends of both sides of kind of a business district versus right down in there, looking, I don't know if there's any way to warn people that they're coming into a pedestrian zone and not.
See, I don't
Or
find
we
Jimmy
bumper.
Coffee to be as dangerous as coming out of between the liquor store and the Masonic Temple or whatever.
Well, also Little Venice, I mean,
And
that's
Little
probably
Venice?
always the one that scared me driving through it, basically Little Venice, so everything's sort of to your side.
Well, if
But
you're in
there's
the,
cars
there's,
right there and people are just like running for the other side of the street.
yeah, I don't see, that's not what I'm talking about being parked behind those buildings. Coming up, there's only
Oh,
one
yeah.
driveway that comes up. And when you come to the end, it's a crested driveway. So you get to the top of that driveway and you really can't see either way.
Yeah, one, it's the Little Venice delivery people that are going in and out of there, and I've seen them a
Right,
couple times.
and there's
just like-
apartments there as well, so, and people are just, you just hold your breath. Not that I go down there often, but I've had opportunity to hold my breath.
Okay, well, in the short term, I'll focus on the crosswalk,
Right.
and we can have further discussion on anything we want to lobby
Mhm.
DOT on regarding Main Street. I'm still, after my conversation with him, I'm still kind of digesting what would actually be not something that just looks like it's a good idea, but something that's actually a good idea. So,
Did we talk to them about lowering the speed limit? I think that's been a conversation that's been had, but I don't remember where that went.
Yeah, there's always been unequivocally no.
Yeah, okay. At least they're consistent.
I mean, they have to have like a speed, or a traffic study.
Oh, yeah.
Those things, but-
That's really that's one, really the only thing that'll make a big difference between the Masonic Temple and the car wash. That stretch
Mhm.
is gonna be longer.
We did request a traffic study about 5 years ago, and we were told, yeah, we just need something.
That'll take an actual active legislature.
Right.
That too.
We asked for a stoplight, study at Lake and,
Still waiting.
Maine, and as well as
Cemetery.
cemetery.
Still waiting. And I think the last time when I talked to the DOT about those specific traffic studies, that's when we inadvertently lowered the, speed limit to 25 and had to jack it back up. They're all about visual barriers now. That's why you're seeing all these traffic circles in the middle of nowhere. That's how they want you to slow people down now. They want you to put jut outs and circles and flower beds in the middle of your main street.
Oh, my goodness
I
gracious.
think it would be perfect.
Well,
Like
I mean, there
New,
is some logic in that when you actually have a physical barrier, people really do go slow. You put a sign up, maybe they go slow. You could ticket them, but
and as far as lights, I think that they came back and said if you're not waiting for at least 5 minutes, they will put up a
But we do have the, those pockets that we put in the road, right? So it's something
Pedestrian
light. Pedestrian lighting.
we consider that.
It's a little bit.
yeah. I think but there might be something for like the designated pedestrian crosswalks like that, or, yeah, I think someone maybe out here had said the flashing, you press a button and the light kind of flashes for 15, 30 seconds. It's kind of, they've got one at Teganic Park when you're crossing over. Those things might be, I mean, I don't know if the state's open to that or something, but for those targeted spots for just the crosswalks, that might be helpful. Because I know you have to be like in the crosswalk before anyone gives you the time of day to like slow down in a lot of those places, which is not fun.
Okay.
Then just finally kind of in that, the business district discussion. I apologize, this should have just been sort of agenda item, but I've spoken with some folks and with Gordon about kind of being a liaison to an unofficial committee of residents who want to take a proactive role in researching the survival or the rescue, I should say, of the footbridge. So there's a number of different people I've spoken to, that Gordon has spoken to, that are willing to do some of the investigation into everything it's going to take, and state paperwork and all that stuff, and labor and costs. There is still a belief that it could be a community project. I know that's seems to be debated, but they're at least willing to do the work to figure out how feasible it all is. And people are going to do that. I'm happy to give my time to be that liaison so that we can figure out, is there a real solution here that it's just hard for us to prioritize. We do it strictly through the government route. We know what we've been quoted. I'm sure we'll have all sorts of questions that come up as we go, but at least we're empowering our community that is eager to take a volunteer role in it. And I'll report back on how that progresses. Good. That's it.
Okay. Treasurer.
Just a reminder that we have 2 abstracts tonight, the 13th, which is all the ones, and then June, just like the new budget year. I'm hoping that all May's invoices are in, so, because I'm gonna close May this week, and hopefully there's no May invoices, we get the year close, and so I can get the AED done by the end of July, otherwise I have to request an extension, which is not a big deal, but it's nicer if you don't. The 2 DPW trucks are at the Teesworth auction, which is up tomorrow. Dusty says he's hoping to get 8 to 10 for this truck, and so far no bids on the international. He's going to talk to Debbie about maybe doing what they did before, like putting it out. So, the police car is also going to auction in the next couple of weeks. Joe's getting the details, so he can offer that. I think that's it.
Thank you for your service, probably.
Oh, don't get that going.
Okay. Anything, any questions for Vicki? Clerk.
Just a couple of things. Ready for my approval is 2019 Porch Fest. I don't see any reason not to approve it, besides the fact that Amelia didn't get it in on time as usual, but she is also consistent. So it doesn't look any different than it did last year, the application. So I'll sign it, and the rest of the departments will sign off, and it'll be ready to go on Saturday. Second thing is on June 27th, the office is going to be closing around 11:30. Morgan and I are going to be attending the Realtors Legislative Luncheon, which the topic is about affordable housing. So I thought it would be good for Morgan to attend with me as well. And Nikki has to be on vacation that day. So just we'll send you a reminder before we go. And tax bills went out on time on last Monday, and payments are slowly trickling in, and everything else is going pretty well. So, unless anybody has any questions.
Last Monday they went out?
Yeah, the first. Today's the 10th. Yes. Last Monday.
The first was a Saturday, right?
The first was a
And then it was
Saturday.
the third.
You have escrow, so you won't see yours.
No, I always have to mail it into the bank. Always.
Never. Not since I've been here. Send them to the bank the same time I send his and his and his.
Okay.
Not you. Yeah.
Okay.
You might get a copy though,
Maybe,
but they always the bank.
Maybe the bank's gonna give you the money.
Maybe,
yeah.
yeah, but I have been sending it directly to them.
Yeah, usually I get the tax bill and then I just mail it to the escrow fund.
Yeah, with your village, it's always going, but again, they could be giving you a reference copy, sometimes it happens.
Anything else for Kimberly? All right, for my report, the only thing that I have is, we mentioned last month that we have a couple of vacancies on the Comp Plan Zoning Revision Committee. One due to Jessica Giles stepping off of the committee, which is why Ben is now the chair. And then we also had another resident step away from the committee. So we've had some discussions. Only one person has expressed to me any real interest in serving on the committee. I had a nice meeting with him a couple of weeks ago. He has, I believe, attended almost every one of the committee meetings as a member of the public. And he's also attended his fair share of village planning and ZBA meetings over the last couple of years. So I will be appointing Jack Katz of South Street as a member of the CPZR committee from the general public. And we will have to add his email to the list and get him Thursday night's agenda and hope that he can make it. I think that he'll be a terrific addition to the committee as the studious and thoughtful individual that he is.
And now there'll be no public at those meetings, so please do come. Thursday nights, or second Thursday, whatever it is, 6:30. That's right.
Always second Thursday.
Always, yeah.
Item number 9, acknowledgement of correspondence. We have gotten a couple of items of correspondence by email as well as hard copy, continuing the ongoing discussion about the stop sign on Lake Street, so I'm just acknowledging that now.
I'll say one thing to that. I do intend to meet with the chief just to see if he's got any additional thoughts now that it's been up a little longer, and any other potential resources we might include in looking at that, just to continue that conversation. So I'll bring that back if there's anything fruitful there.
Are there new people corresponding or?
Not to my knowledge.
The hard copy correspondence, I haven't had the opportunity to share yet. It's actually from a resident at the bottom of Lake Street, who documented timestamp and date stamp documented various violations of that stop sign over a multi-day period. I haven't had the opportunity to really look through it, but I will get Tammy to scan and email it to everyone at some point. Item number 10, old business, clean energy community announcement.
Yes. So I'm proud to announce that we've been designated a clean energy community.
Yay.
We,
Thank you for your work.
yes,
Yeah.
you're very welcome. Thank you to Ben and Rachel Kennedy before. Rachel then. We did that by completing 4 initiatives. One was passing a benchmarking policy so we can keep better track of our energy use as a village. Another was to streamline our solar approval process and to have energy code enforcement training, which Tom went through and we passed as well. And then finally, the energy upgrades for the village hall, the LED lights, the heat pumps, got us that fourth checkbox. So we are now a clean energy community. We'll start kind of spreading that word more formally. There's a press release to go out. And as part of that, we've applied for and received approval for a $5,000 grant. I don't know if we've gotten the monies as of yet, but they said that we've got the thumbs up on that as well. So look forward to using that. What does it go towards?
Yeah.
We didn't have to earmark it specifically.
General. I assume it's like clean energy type.
Yeah. The way that it's structured, the folks, the municipalities that got passed earlier got a larger grant, and those had to be more documented as to specifically what they were going to go towards and initiatives and so forth. I think the town went through some of that. Once they got to the $5,000, I think they realized putting too many hoops there was just too much work. So we just kind of had to fill out that we've done it. And honestly, we've put more than that into the upgrades that we've done already. So I think it's kind of, in my mind, it's towards that. And that'll actually go to the new business that as well that
Yeah, that's
we're
what I
about to
was
bring up
thinking.
as well. So it could be a good segue there.
Excellent.
Yeah. Like $10,000 worth of
I
socks.
just need socks and slippers and I'm good.
You say that now.
Yeah. So I have, I've gotten 2 quotes for, unfortunately, the quotes, the last one I got was literally an hour before this meeting. And as quotes go, they're non-overlapping amounts of work. So I think for right now, I'll just point out that there's somewhere in the range of $10,000 to $20,000 of work that's been identified. Whether we do all of it or not, I'll give a more firm recommendation next month. Primarily, the work is looking at insulating the basement and some of the crawl spaces underneath the police department and the kind of addition, crawl space under the addition where the bathroom and the kitchen is in the clerk's office side. That's been identified as probably the highest priority. There's one of the quotes included some insulation in the attic and storm windows as well. So I'm going to work through kind of what we feel like makes the best bang for the buck there, and come back and talk about that next month. So just a preview of coming attractions there.
Good.
Now that we're using heat pumps, is there a cost savings that can be made in weatherization?
Yeah, I mean, certainly, well, there's 2 parts to it. There is some cost savings. I mean, the less, cold air we have blowing through, the less the heat pumps have to work. There's also, I mean, I think my aim primarily is a improvement in comfort in the areas. I mean, the biggest issue being that, the cold air is coming up through the basement, and then that first floor is quite a bit colder than even, at waist height or at head height from just the heat kind of stacking up at the ceiling there. Going down and looking around with one of the companies, I mean, there's kind of just air blows around there. Certainly the area where the boiler would have been somewhat heated just by the boiler being inefficient and losing heat into the basement space. That's no longer the case anymore. Even just the hot water pipes that kind of would have spidered through the basement would have kept it somewhat warm. So there's a lot of pieces going on where it's really noticeable now that there's a lot of cold air coming through there. And looking around, there's just gaping holes and whatnot. So we'll be able to get some.
Insulation kind of hanging.
Right. So we'll be able to kind of spray foam all around there and clean up a lot of that stuff, and then take a closer look at whether storm windows or other heating or other different parts. Probably put a little bit of electric baseboard heating, at least in that back bathroom with the door closed. It stays pretty cold back there. We had that pipe freezing issue. So a couple little add-ons here and there, but that's kind of the gist of it.
How many baseboard electric heaters are you thinking?
7. Nobody's finding all over your desk.
Yeah, well, Morgan can have one.
But so
Which is
the
little.
thought to actually answer the question, the thought was one in the bathroom and then potentially one in the front entryway to kind of offset the door. And then probably not as part of this, but maybe it's just something I come back through with my dad or something, is to try and address that door a little bit better, because it does have some gaping holes in places.
Is there such a thing as, let me get up top, but is there such a thing as, speaking of shared service, with some sort of community benefit? Say, if we pick someone to do this for Village Hall, we make an arrangement where we hire them for Village Hall, they do village residents for a discounted rate, we get X amount of customers. Is that even legal?
Thank you.
But
Yeah, it's kind of.
This is a gift we're not paying for. I mean, you'd have to get a bulk quote.
yeah, I guess if they say you hire us, if you get 100 residents that want to weatherize, we give them X deal.
You could make it a shared service.
That's what I mean, yeah.
I mean, among municipalities.
Oh, sure.
We're going to jail.
and pick them up every week.
I don't know if they would quote it that way.
Probably, yeah, so that's something. Maybe it's just a lot of people, but I'm just wondering.
No, it's not.
Does.
It's just, it's getting a discount, so in a roundabout way. it's-
It's not quite the same thing, but the lights, the LED lights there's a lot of programs out there. Like, for instance, there was a program to help get these switched over. That's more of like a commercial structure, but there's a lot of, I know NICEAG often has like LED lights for $1 each or something kind of deals. And the efficiency is, I mean, they're twice as good as even compact fluorescents. And so if you still have the regular, old incandescent light bulbs, it's 10 times, 20 times better. Like the amount that you save very quickly pays off. I think these lights ended up paying off like within less than a year of the switch over, with the help of that program that we did it through. So I think if there's something for people to look at, it doesn't require changing anything over. Just kind of go through your house. I bought a whole pack of them on Amazon and switched over recently. So pretty easy to do.
Okay.
I love the light in it.
Item number 12 on the agenda is approval of abstracts, starting with
13.
number 13, last abstract of the 18-19 fiscal year.
13, all right.
We have a general fund abstract in the amount of $256,043.98.
Wow.
Well, 73,000, that is.
So we hit 73,000. That's right on target.
I gave the notice investment today for the picture.
Yeah. That's all. It's exactly.
Need a lot of paving in there.
Excellent.
So,
Thank you to the DPW for the paving on Wake Street and the filling in the side of the road on Wake Street as well. Yeah, it was very nice.
the gear washers in here.
There's a couple of lots of stuff for fire, Jason uses money.
Equipment, firearms, we've got the other canopies. So if someone would like to move that we pay that abstract.
I move that we pay the general fund $256,843. I think it was
No, it's just 43.
$43.98.
Second.
Where's that 800 going, Dad?
And then a second, any additional discussion? Not all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions. We have an EMS billing abstract in the amount of $35,126.59.
I move that we pay the EMS billing $35,126.59.
Second.
Wait a second, any discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions. We have the water fund abstract in the amount of $17,091.80.
These have changed over the years, haven't they?
I move that we pay that abstract.
I'll second.
Any additional discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions. Sewer fund abstract in the amount of $8,225.33.
I said we pay the sewer fund. Abstract, $8,224.33. So much better than the $280,000 we were paying every month last year.
Motion and a second, any additional discussion? Not all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention. Next is the capital project Safe Routes to School. A couple of additional bills still trickling in, $1,617.10.
I move that we pay this abstract in the order of $1,617.10.
Second?
Motion, multiple seconds, any discussion?
Every week it seems like we say, oh, this is the last one.
Right.
One of these meetings will be.
Exciting.
We won't realize it when it disappears. That's no problem.
Alright, then all in favor of paying this abstract, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions. And last on this batch is trust and agency in the amount of $2,202.15.
I move that we pay this trust and agency $2,202.15.
Second.
Any discussion? Questions? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, first abstract of the 1920 fiscal year. For the general fund amount needing to be paid of $7,902.34.
I move that we pay this abstract.
Second.
Any discussion?
First Light Fiber,
That is the,
First, that's what
yeah.
Internet?
Finger Lakes used to be.
oh, we changed their name? This is
Well,
OTTC or, pardon me?
Part of it. Additional comments, questions, discussion? All right, then all in favor of paying this general fund abstract, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions. We have a water fund abstract in the amount of $3,725.98.
Move that we pay this abstract in the water fund.
Motion, do I have a second? Second. Any discussion? All in favor then, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions. We have a sewer fund abstract in the amount of $7,436.25.
I move that we pay this sewer fund abstract.
Second.
Wait a minute. Oh, the swim bus passes. Never mind.
Any additional discussion of the second sewer fund abstract? If not, then all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And last but not least, trust and agency in the amount of $36,289.61. All of it is health insurance.
I move that we pay the trust and agency $36,289.61.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Seeing as there are no more members of the public present, privilege, we won't need a second privilege of the floor. I would entertain a motion to go back into executive session to briefly discuss personnel as well as proposed or pending possible litigation.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.